to show you a quick and easy way to paint a black pug using acrylic gouache. This is just one way of many ways. If you have your own way, this doesn't mean that you're wrong or anything like that. Keep on doing what you're doing. But I'm just going to show you one way that I've come up with to make a black pug really quickly and easily. So the first thing you're going to need are your paints. So I'm using Holbein acrylic gouache in the colors titanium white, jet black, Prussian blue, and burnt sienna for the eyes. So the first thing we're going to do is put some black down on the palette. So I'm putting down a fair amount of black because we've got a fair amount of ground to cover. And then some Prussian blue. A fair amount of that too. So we want to make that black more interesting. And then some titanium white to lighten it up a bit. So what you're looking at now is mostly black, a little bit of blue, a little bit of white. Okay, so mix with the back of a paintbrush. Just get that all good and mixed up. Okay. And what we're looking at now is this very dark blue, gray, black color. So get your brush wet, nice and wet, and then drag it against the edge of your water bucket, just like that, so that you don't have too much water, you don't have too little, and load up your brush with paint and get in there and start painting. Just filling in everything. I'm starting with an already drawn pug, so I'm assuming you can do that. That could be another lesson. And then anywhere where there's a line, we want to leave a little white gap. So, with the exception of where the ear meets the head, we don't need a white gap there. Just cutting around those wrinkles. And if you roll over some of them, it's totally okay. You can just add them in freehand later. But if you're concerned about being able to find where you put those wrinkles, then you want to leave that white gap. Leaving that white space. Not too much, but enough so we know approximately where to put the line. And if your paint starts to feel draggy, dip back into the water and then drag it against the edge again, just to re-moisten your brush. It does dry out over time. You can see I made a little boo-boo there. That's okay, we can just extend the ear just slightly, and it's like it was never there. There we go. And then we want to get to the muzzle, and you guessed it, we're leaving a little bit of white space, just a touch, so we know where to put the lines back in. fill right over the line underneath the nose, because it's just so easy to add that back in that cutting around it doesn't really make a lot of sense. Now, if it's looking a little thin to you anywhere, you can get back in there and dab on a little more paint. I like things to look very flat and very opaque, but really that comes down to personal choice and personal taste and whatever you think looks good. There we go. Okay, I'm liking how that looks. Now, while we wait for the fur color to dry, let's go ahead and paint the eyes. So rinse it off my brush, and we'll put down some burnt sienna. I'm going to use this straight out of the tube. I'm not going to mix it with anything. But of course, if you want a slightly darker eyed pug, throw in some black. Just adjust it as you see fit. So this pug is going to be looking just straight ahead. We're doing just the most basic expression right now. Painting in that eye. Painting in this eye. Leaving a little bit of white space around the colorful part of the eye because that's just how I'm feeling today. Okay, rinsing off the brush. Okay, the next thing I'm gonna do is mix up just a smidgen of pink for this open mouth area. So for that, it's very simple. I'm going to put down some white. And then a tiny bit of magenta. Oh my goodness, that is way too much magenta. Just splooshed out there. And a tiny bit of orange. Tiny bit. So that is way too much magenta. We have something very, very pink here. I'm going to try to just get the very edge of it. Mix, 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 mix. Okay, that's looking pretty good. So as you can see, we've got this fleshy, pinky, orangey shade. And I'm gonna just I'm gonna tap into that. And I'm gonna fill in this mouth area. Because I like it when pugs have tongues that are kind of blepped out a little bit. I think it looks really cute. There we go. So that's all we have to do with that. And now our fur color is looking mostly dry enough to work with. So we're going to add a little black. To one side, add a little black to one side of our gray pile. And mix, 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 mix. So we have a very dark charcoaly black, blackish grayish. Now to put in the lines, I'll be using a Pentel Fude brush. You can see the tip is kind of long and skinny and pointed. Any small paintbrush will work for this, but this is my personal favorite, the Pentel Fude. This is a large size one. So I'm gonna get that wet, drag it against the edge as we do, and dip in to that dark color, and then go over the lines. So I'm gonna start at the ear. The ear we want to fill in down to the head with this darker color. So just go ahead and fill that in. And I'm going to do the other ear now. Need a little more water. Just fill it in. Okay. And then go over all your lines with the blackish color we just made. As you can see, there's little bits of white left over. You can either do a more thorough job of painting them over, or just leave them. Your call. I just kind of go with what I'm feeling at the moment when it comes to that. I usually do blot over them pretty seriously, but not always. There's no wrong answer here. So don't stress about it. There we go. Add back in our line over under the nose. And line the lips. Nice thick line under the chin. And a reason I like the Fude brush is that it's really easy to get different line thicknesses. It's very expressive. And now I'm going to line over the eyes. Give them a little eyelash. Just dragging it all the way around. Need more water. There we go. Just a little touch of eyelash. Now, since we've got this dark color mixed up, I want a little bit more because I'm running low. I want enough for the nose. So I'm just gonna mix. And I'm gonna switch back to my big brush and paint in the nose. And while we're at it, we're gonna paint in the pupils of the eyes. Just kind of mirroring the outside edge of the eye. Fill that in. And then on the other side. Same thing. We want to even that out as best we can. It's looking a little small. It's always good to start small and go larger. Okay, I'm liking how that's looking. Rinse it off my brush. Now we want to go in and add some highlights. So we're going to add some titanium white to the other side of our gray color here. And we're going to mix just a little bit of that gray in there. just a little bit. So we wind up with a color approximately like this. So a very light blue-gray. And I'm gonna break out the Fude brush again. Make sure that's blotted off. And we're gonna dip into that new color and add some highlights. So consider where you want your light to be shining from when you do this. In this case, we're gonna have the light shining from this angle. So it's gonna hit the eyes right there. Add a little line underneath and right there. And we're going to go ahead and put in little white highlights anywhere where the light would hit. So the upper side of these wrinkles. Just wherever the light would hit. We want to put a little bit over the top of the eye. A little bit there. And then a little bit on the other ear. Just a smidge. And a little bit in the cheeks. A little bit over the nose. And I'm going to put a little bit on this side. I'm going to put a little dab under there where the chin would, where the lip would be. And I've just realized I forgot to put in the lip, so I'm going to do that now with the blackish color we mixed up. Just put in a little lip, just like that. There we go. And that's looking pretty good. If you're feeling it, you could add some teeth. I am always feeling it, so I'm gonna add some teeth. Just get in there with a little dab of titanium white using my smaller brush. And just dab in a couple of little teethies. Little balls. And then little slightly pointed teeth on the edges. There we go. Sign your name and you are all done. You have painted a black pug. And that is all there is to it. It's a really simple, fast, easy way to paint a black pug. And I hope this was helpful. And go forth and paint pugs!